Hey y'all, I'm doing a coolant flush on my 1999 Ford F-150. I just bought this and I didn't notice when I bought it how dirty the coolant was. I may have passed on it if I had, because it's been a total mess. I've done the dilution flush where you empty the radiator, refill with distilled several times, and it said online that doing that 3-4 times is enough. Well, I did it I think 8 times. It was still coming out super nasty. It looks like somebody either mixed coolant or put a stop leak in here. I am going to have to replace the heater core, so the stop leak is looking likely, and I just want to get this whole thing cleaned out. I pressure tested the system and I didn't find any leaks in the hoses or the radiator itself, just the coolant or just the heater core, and that sucks because the whole dash has to come out, but it's not difficult, it's just time consuming. I wanted to show you guys a couple things I've done to make this procedure a little safer. The first thing is I had a little bit of trouble looking online to find out which of the hoses was the inlet to the heater core. The Prestone kit says to hook up to the inlet, and the easiest way to tell is that on most of these F-150s, the inlet will have this hose clamp halfway down, and that's holding the flow restrictor in that protects the heater core on startup. So that's your input to your heater core. That's the one that you want to install your T in. It says in the kit to put it in a straight sectional line. I put it in the middle of this loop coming out from the engine just because the access was easier. I was able to clamp it on okay. We'll see if it holds pressure. These things should not be pressurized that high, especially during a flush where the system is open to the atmosphere. So there's the hookup for the hose. The other thing I did on the hose end is I'm running the water through an RV water filter first to get any sediment and as much crap out of there as possible. I'm going to flush at the end with distilled water, but best to put as little crap into there as possible to start with. I also installed one of these, I think it's Rainbird or one of those companies that makes drip systems. This is a flow restrictor, and it said 25 to 30 psi on the package. I have a gauge here and it's not that accurate, but my house water is probably somewhere around 60 to 90 psi, and I didn't want that going into my system. I'm gonna watch it as I open this system up and make sure that it's not staying pegged like that once it's actually open. I have it cut off to the radiator right now. I'm draining the system currently. You can see the water that the thermocure worked with is super freaking gross. I'm hoping I don't have to do this again. It smells bad. The instructions from Prestone said to drain the radiator first and fill it back up. It seemed like a good idea to get as much of this out of there as possible before I started. So I'm doing that. You see something floating in there, that's just leaves. I pulled the bucket out of the back of the truck. Got a kiddie pool here to catch the runoff. This is the other thing I've done. They give you this elbow to be your outflow, but there's no way to actually attach it to this style of overflow tank, and I'm hoping it's low pressure enough that what I've done here is I've taken a butyl sealant that you use on a windshield and just wrapped it around there, sealed it up. And I did the same thing with this 3/8 or 1/2 inch heater hose here. I put butyl around here and then duct taped it to hold it on. I'm hoping it's low pressure enough that this holds and dumps everything into the kiddie pool. Otherwise it's going to be a big mess. But that's what I've got. This is the sealant. It's just a rope of tacky rubber. Here's the box called window weld, and I've used it for several different things. I've used it to seal up taillight installs, things like that. It works great. It's a really versatile material for lots of different things. So get you some. It's fun to play with anyway, nice and sticky. So I'll be back at you when we're ready to do this flush. All right, our outflow from the radiator is slowed to a trickle, so the next step is to turn the water on and make sure it's coming out of the outflow and coming out of our drain line over here. So here goes nothing. Let's watch the pressure as we open this. That seems super okay to me right there. Just gonna leave that barely cracked. See if we get flow. Nothing there yet. It's starting to pick up. Yep. That's super nasty. You guys can see that. That is some nasty black water coming out. So we just started getting water out of the overflow, and so far, looks like we're holding. We're gonna have to change out our bucket here on the outflow part way through, I think. So I got a second bucket here. But that seems to be working so far. All right, we've got flow from both hoses. I was able to rearrange the radiator one so that it went into my swimming pool here, kiddie pool. And we're ready to start her up. The instructions from Prestone say not to run it more than 10 minutes. This should take 5, so I've set a timer here for 7 minutes and 30 seconds. Right in the middle. Figure this truck is dirty enough, extra couple minutes won't hurt. And I might actually do this 2-3 times. But here goes nothing. We're in neutral. We just let that sucker idle. And a momentary pause in flow, and now we're getting more. Not sure why that is. Let's check our pressure. Still under 20 psi. I set the kiddie pool on my hose here. Our pressure looks okay, right at 20 psi. Got outflow from both. Our timer here set. I don't know if you can even see that. 6 minutes left. I opened my valve all the way, and because the gauge is on the back side of the valve, my pressure reading actually dropped. So I was feeding it less than 20 before. With it fully open, right now we're sitting about, I'd say 13, and that's just fine. Our radiator cap is 16 psi, so everything in there has to hold at least that. So we're on round 2 here. The first round washed out all this nastiness. On round 2, I'm pretty much getting clean water out of the radiator drain, and I'm getting real close on the overflow. Yeah, see, it seems to pulse out some kind of cloudy stuff every so often. So I'm hoping this round does it. I waited about half hour between while it drained and then refilled. So let's see how we do. We got 3 minutes left on this round. All right, we're at minute 5 of 7.5 on the third round, and we're getting clean water, you know, minus some bubbles here and there from the radiator drain, and nice clean water out of the tank. So I'm gonna let that go another 2 minutes just to be thorough and call this flushed.